my kitchen. I'm Gabrielle, and today I'm going to be making a wheat sandwich loaf. So this is going to be perfect for toast, obviously for sandwiches, maybe croutons. It's a really versatile bread that it's great to have in the kitchen. It comes together super simply, and I really enjoy kneading. So I'm going to be using my hands for this, but you could totally use a mixer if you're not a fan of kneading or you're a little bit nervous. It's made with half bread flour and half wheat flour, so it's also not got a super strong, wheat flavor if you're not really a fan of that 100% wheat taste. And with that being said, let's get started. So what are we looking at? We've got wheat and bread flours, yeast, salt, honey, butter, milk, and water. I'm going to start by mixing the dry and wet ingredients separately, then folding them together, and finally kneading it all for 8 minutes. Here, I'm adding the bread flour to the wheat flour, plus a couple teaspoons each of local Bahamian sea salt and yeast. It's pretty good. Stir everything into one even dry mixture. Now we're going to combine the wet ingredients. I doubt I'm going to need all the liquid, but I want the fat and flavor from the milk, so I'm definitely going to use that full amount. The water I'm leaving on the side to pour in as necessary later. So I'm adding the honey and butter to the milk. Any kind of milk will do. If you're using plant-based though, you'll want to check that it's unsweetened. Whoa, okay. Whisk the honey, butter, and milk together until combined. Stir the liquid into the dry mix until the flour is hydrated. You don't want it soaking wet, but you'll know it's good when you start seeing pieces of dough clumping together. There are clumps here, but it's still on the dry side. You can tell from the color of the flour. So I'm adding a splash of water. I know it's hard to see from this angle, but this is looking pretty good. Although it might be tempting to keep adding more water so the dough comes neatly together, that's what kneading is for. I'm going to get in there with my hands so I can continue developing the dough, but going more by feel. First, I'm folding the clumps into one another to join them together, then scooping the excess flour onto that larger ball as I continue to turn it over onto itself. After a couple of turns, it's clear that I don't need any more water to make everything stick together. Now that I've got a more cohesive dough, I'm switching to knead on the counter. It's easier and more comfortable on a flat, open surface. Plus, you can see better what I'm doing. I'm sprinkling wheat flour to keep the dough from sticking, and I'll add a little more if needed as I go along. If you're not familiar with kneading, what you want to do is use the heel of your hand to stretch the dough out and pull it back in onto itself. Push out, pull in, and also give the dough a quarter turn so you're not just working the same part over and over. The whole purpose for kneading is to develop the gluten strands in the flour, encouraging them to become more elastic. This process takes time, which is why you have to keep at it for a while. And finally, the clock says 8 minutes have passed. As you can see, the dough has completely transformed from the floury clumps in the beginning to one smooth ball. It's part of the magic. Now I'm going to shape it a little before leaving it to rise. Here's a closer look for you to see what we're working with. I'm putting a little coconut oil in the mixing bowl to keep the dough from drying out and sticking to the bowl. Tossing the dough in the oil also gives it a thin coating to protect it during the rise time. Here's the before, and after about 2 hours, here's the after. Now I'm going to press it into a rectangle since that's the shape of my baking pan. The next step is to roll it up tightly into a log. I'm pinching the seams together and tucking the ends under so it resembles the shape I'm going for. I've got the pan nearby to give me an idea of how long I need it to be. Alright, just doing a little more shaping. And this looks okay. The pan is already greased, again with coconut oil, and the dough goes in for a second rise. I'm pressing it down into the corners to kind of guide it the way I want it to grow. This pan is bigger than the standard sandwich bread size, and the dough is dense, so I don't think it's going to get much higher than the rim. Once it fills the main section though, I'll be happy. Okay, it's been close to 2 hours. The oven is hot and ready to go, so it's time to inspect this loaf. The shape isn't very even, but it's filling the pan and otherwise seems good. I'm brushing a little water on the top to help create a crust. Then I'll stick it in the oven, which I've preheated to 350 degrees. After 40 minutes, it's nice and brown. All done! The loaf is pretty evenly brown on the outside. Now let's see how it looks on the inside. The crumb, how you describe the amount of holes inside a loaf of bread or a cake, is pretty tight. That's great for sandwiches since nothing is going to fall through onto your fingers. The loaf isn't very high, but we saw that coming and I can live with it. Now I'm going to make one slice of plain toast and another with avocado, nutritional yeast, and red pepper flakes. Hey guys, if it wasn't already obvious, today is a new day. When I finished baking the bread, or when it finally cooled, it was dark and I didn't want to eat it then, and plus it wouldn't have been good to film. So here I am, it's my breakfast time, and I'm going to start first with the plain buttered toast. So, pretty straightforward. And now for the avocado. So again, this is what it looks like. This is good. So the bread is good on its own, but I think adding the avocado and the nutritional yeast topping really, you know, makes the flavors more complex and helps you to enjoy the butter and the bread. It's very tasty. I really like it. I think that's it. I don't really know what else to say. The bread's great, and it was, as you saw, really simple to pull together. You can use your hand, you can use a mixer, and definitely give it a try and let me know how it came out or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Well, that's it for this wheat loaf video, guys. I would love to hear how the birds would love to hear too. Well, that's it for this wheat video, guys. Well, that's it for this wheat loaf video, guys. Let me know in the comment section how you like to enjoy